What the hell are we supposed to use, man? Harsh language?
Welcome back, folks. It's Superman Day. Finally.
Yep.
We've all seen
We're
Superman, and we're here to talk about it. That'll be later on in the show. But we appreciate you guys joining us. How's your week been?
I'm actually about 200 pages away, less than 200 pages away from finishing the Expanse series completely.
Nice. That's a big monumental occasion.
Yeah.
Been
I'm on the
reading that for
final
a couple
book,
years.
and then, yeah, I have. I kind of put it down for a long time, though.
Right.
But getting back into it, well, almost done with it and binging it pretty much.
Nice.
And then there's another short story after the last novel, so that'll be cool.
You been watching anything or nah?
Well, I told you guys I started watching Ted Lasso.
Right.
Almost done with the first season.
big.
That show's so good. Apple makes great wholesome shows
Oh, yeah.
just randomly.
Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, it's funny. It's good.
You don't even have to like sports or soccer or anything to enjoy that show.
Oh, not at all. Yeah.
Which is why it's great. But that show really hit because it came out during COVID when like things were looking bleak and it was like a shot of hope, much like this movie is that we're here to talk about today, you know?
Mhm.
Dusty's over there drinking out of a crystal skull. Finally finished my Indiana Jones run through with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, which I hadn't seen really since it came out. And honestly, I didn't even remember the majority of that movie. It is better than the most recent one that came out, Dial of Destiny. Like, by a pretty large margin, to be honest.
Yeah.
I don't know that Crystal Skull is, like, horrendously bad.
No, it wasn't great, but it wasn't terribly either. It was just kind of mid.
Yeah. And I can't really put my finger on why. Because I feel like it's kind of like going back and watching the original Star Wars prequels, where like at the time we all fucking hated them vehemently, and now you kind of go back and watch them with a little bit more of an appreciation for them because of the most recent Star Wars movies that were so bad.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I don't know if Crystal Skull.
I don't know if that's a good thing, though.
No, I'm not saying it's a good thing, but
Just because something worse comes out, it makes the other thing better.
that's what I'm saying. I don't know if Crystal Skull was like, quote, better to me this time around relatively to Dial of Destiny, or if it was just never really that bad to begin with. But
yeah,
because I've sat and like tried to think about it, like because I watched it and I was like, it's okay, like it's fun, like it's not that bad. It's not really that bad.
right.
It's just not as good as the original 3 Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah. The comeback characters feel a little better because they're not as old because it was like
totally.
10 years ago. Now they're all
And I see where they were going with Shia LaBeouf, like trying to get him to be like the flag bearer and to carry the torch of the franchise, which didn't pan out, obviously. I think what really in this movie is not as good as the originals is that a lot of the set pieces, like the action set pieces, are really outlandish in this one. More so than the originals, where in the originals he's like running from things, there's big boulders and there's like tribesmen shooting arrows at him and poison darts, and he's jumping into planes and boats and stuff like that. This is like completely comic book fucking batshit crazy. Like Shia LaBeouf is swinging through trees with monkeys and fucking
Let's go. Tarzan.
a truck getting like, you know, getting like landing perfectly on like a single branch of a tree and not falling. Like, so in those reasons, it was a little outlandish. The actual treasure, though, spoilers, Marvin, being the alien, like a skull of the aliens that came to like give early civilizations like technology and stuff, I don't think was that bad in terms of like Indiana Jones stuff. Because like all the Indiana Jones treasures were kind of outlandish. There was the Ark of the Covenant, which is like, I won't say anything because we want Marvin to watch it. There's Temple of Doom, which was like a fucking cult and had these stones and guys ripping people's hearts out and shit. And then there was the last one, which was the Holy Grail, yeah, that grants immortality, which I totally forgot as a plot point that it grants immortality, and so they could canonically make Indiana Jones movies until the end of time because he's immortal.
Yeah. But I mean, yeah, somebody will eventually take the role, but we talked about it a little bit, like who would be a Superman. Like Chris Pratt said he would never do it because they asked him to do Indiana Jones.
I don't think
he said no. He said I wouldn't do it because Harrison Ford alone. He said when I die, Indiana Jones is dead, and so I would never like try to take that from him. But somebody eventually will like, yeah, sure, I'll take the role.
You know who I could see doing it, to be honest. Our boy right here, David Cornsweet. He's a little bit bigger, like taller than Harrison Ford, but he's got like that charm to him. I feel like he could do a good job of it because I think he's a good actor.
Yeah.
And just watching Superman, I was just like, I could see it, kind of. I don't want there to be more Indiana Jones movies. That's not what I'm saying, but they're gonna make them, so we might as well fan cast. Oh, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So yeah, I watched that. I don't think it was as bad. I also watched the Pee Wee documentary. Finally got around to it. Very nice. Very heartbreaking.
Yeah, it makes you mad.
Yeah. I mean, for a lot of reasons, but more so for the fact that like he obviously felt like he couldn't be himself, you know, in terms of like not just be himself in terms of as an openly gay man back then, but he didn't feel he could be himself as himself, like literally as himself, as Paul Rubens. Like Pee Wee was so famous, and he made Pee Wee a real person. When he went to like talk shows and like did appearances at like award shows and things, he was Pee Wee. People didn't even know Paul Rubens was a real person.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of crazy that he just had this like multi-layered double identity that, you know, also coincides with like him not feeling like he could be openly gay in that time, and then like just the way that affected him with what happened with the, you know, there was like, I mean, the first incident in the early 90s was him basically like jerking off at a fucking porn theater, which like, all right. But the second one, they raided his home and said that he had like child porn and like all this crazy shit. But he was a collector of like vintage I guess photography and like risque photos, but it was like artistic. It was like photography. There was no like child porn or anything.
Well, yeah, it was out of all of them, they found one photo where they said he could have been a minor, but they didn't know because they couldn't track the guy down, and so that's what they were like, plead guilty, and we'll drop every other charge, and so he just took the hit because he didn't want them to continue to dig into his life.
Yeah, it was real sad. And then, of course, the documentary was being filmed when he knew he was dying of cancer, and he never told the filmmakers. So there's this moment at the end of the documentary where, like, he kind of pulls the plug on the documentary. There's this playful little thing throughout the documentary that he's doing with the documentarians, like, kind of being coy, like, I want to cancel this. I want to stop doing the documentary. You guys are not doing a good job, blah, blah, blah. But it was, like, playful for a while.
Trying to shoehorn his way of doing it.
Yeah, it was playful for a while, but then at the end he actually pulls the plug on it and he's like, I don't want to do this anymore. But it turns out it's because he knew he was going to die soon, and like he was worried that like he was worried that like this wouldn't be an accurate telling of his story, like without him present to like watch over it. It was just really, really sad. But it was a good documentary. He was a good guy, and
very good. Yeah, I was talking to Christina about that when we watched it. I don't think I realized where a lot of my anti-authority stuff came from, but I'm sure a lot of it came from Pee Wee's Playhouse, because just the way he was in that show was amazing. Like you like that fruitcake? Why don't you marry it? He's like, okay, and then he marries a fruitcake. You know, it's just embracing being different and not succumbing to societal norms. Be yourself, be you, be creative. Which is great. It's a great philosophy, and that's why the show was so good, I think.
Oh, totally. There's
plus all the stars that were in it. Holy shit.
I didn't even realize too. I totally forgot that Charlie's mom in It's Always Sunny was like a main character on that show. and she just recently passed away. So that was also a little bit sad. But yeah, like, you know, that's the great thing about Pee Wee, and like the same with like Mr. Rogers. It's just Mr. Rogers was a little bit different. Even Bob Ross too. For Bob Ross wasn't like strictly a kids show, but those were the three I think really super influential things on my early life, and then Carl Sagan as I got a little bit older. But like, because they taught children and their audience, like, just be who you are, like, for better or worse, like, you know what I mean? And to explore new things and don't be afraid and like all this stuff. So yeah, no, the props to those guys. They were like, I don't even really know if there are like entertainers like that anymore. At least not as creative as Pee Wee. I know like Miss Rachel, she's like a huge, oh
yeah, she's dope.
Like she's a huge kids content creator on YouTube, and now she's like speaking out against genocide and like getting shit on by like conservatives and stuff for it. So props to her too. But yeah, and
well, nowadays everybody watch YouTube. It's Mr. Beast on YouTube.
When you get a little old,
watching people play Minecraft on YouTube and shit like that. I went back and rewatched all the Jurassic World movies. Not all the Jurassic movies, because I love the Jurassic Park movies. They're all good. But I wanted to rewatch Jurassic World because I watched Jurassic World Rebirth, and that movie, bad.
The new one.
Yes.
Oh, you went to see it in theaters, or you watched a bootleg or something?
I just watched it online. Yeah, it is so bad.
What were you saying, Marvin?
My buddy said it was good.
Oof. Which buddy?
Hunter.
It's every other Jurassic. It's every other Jurassic movie. Like I don't want to ruin it, but
you can ruin it. I don't care.
Guy sailing with his kids is not where he should be. Like they're like, okay, all the dinosaurs are dying out. The only place they can survive because of the climate and the oxygen-rich environment is a tropical zone within like 10 degrees of the equator. And so this guy's sailing with his family across the world, and he's taking them through the equator. Like, yeah, you're going to get attacked by a fucking giant water dinosaur. And they get picked up, and then the crew gets crashed, and there's a just clumsy, like, oh, another dinosaur escaped and everybody died. And it's just, I don't know. It's a cookie cutter Jurassic Park. There's nothing really original about it. It feels like some of the sequelitis movies that we've run into, where it's just it just feels like the same movie with different cast. So I didn't enjoy it. I thought there was a lot of pretty dumb stuff, and just luckily escaping things. Like dude stands up to take a piss, and there's a raptor right behind him, and another like a flying dinosaur comes down and fucking takes off with the raptor. Just luck of everything. I don't know.
It really seems like one of the dumbest premises, because like the films, the franchise started out as, you know, hey, we started this park that's like pretty cool, and like we didn't think of like the implications of what we did. You know, there's that famous line from what's his name's character, Jeff Goldblum, is like, you know, you spent so much time, you were too preoccupied thinking of whether or not you could, you didn't think of whether or not you should. And like introducing these like ancient deadly creatures to like a modern society. And like the premise is simple. It's just like, oh, we created these things and they escaped one day, and like a lot of people get fucked up, and now we're just gonna like wrap it up because it's a bad idea.
Well, I thought they were gonna lean into the whole making dinosaurs weapons, because that's kind of where they were leading to.
Well, that's
where Michael Crichton went in the book.
Yeah, that would be a cool premise, but it seems like all these world movies are just like, the premise is just like, oh, like dinosaurs are just out and about, and like everybody knows about it, but we're still going to continue to visit these places where they exist.
It's fine.
Yeah, no, they neatly tied that up. But they're like, yeah, people don't even care about dinosaurs anymore. Like the dinosaur museums are all failing and dying.
News.
And it's okay. So we need to go get blood from the biggest dinosaurs that are alive today, because they have big hearts and big heart muscles, and we could cure heart disease because those dinosaurs lived for 100 years or whatever. So we got to go get their blood, and it's illegal, but we're going to make trillions of dollars. So let's do it for greed. Yeah. And then it's just like they put this cast of people together, and then they all crash on the island. And you're like, okay, yep, these people are going to make it out alive. These people are going to die. And sure enough, that's what the fuck happened.
Yeah. I had like zero excitement to see it. I could see like going in like mindlessly and being like, hey, oh, that was entertaining. I could perfectly
Yeah,
see
I mean,
that.
for a summer blockbuster, it's not terrible, but for a Jurassic World or park-based movie, is redundant for me.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Folks, Dusty is a retired newsman. He used to do video game journalism. Now he does journalism for us. Gives us all the big news on the culture that fucking pops. You know what I'm saying, Marvin?
I know what you're saying.
What do you got for us this week, Dusty?
This is your piece of news. Metro Private Cinema, they're opening this in Chelsea, New York City.
Yeah.
This is an expensive movie experience, but it looks like a really cool one.
Yes.
I don't know. Have you ever been to the Alamo Draft House? You ever been to one? Dan?
Yeah, Alamo Draft House is one of the best theater experiences you'll get in the country. I don't know where they all are located. There's one here in Brooklyn, and then the original one is in, I think, Texas, Austin, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they're down in Texas. There's a whole bunch in Texas. There's a couple on the East Coast, and there's a couple on the West Coast, and a few more in the Midwest, but there's not that many because I had to look them up. But there are other places like this because there's a place in Folsom called the Palladio Lux, and they do 6 screens, reclining leather seats, full food, beverage, and menu, and alcohol. And I'm sure there's other branded places that do stuff like this, but yeah, Metro Private seems to be an upgrade to that. You can reserve a 4-person theater for about $200 for a 4-hour booking, or a 12-person theater costs $600. Additional food's going to cost $100 a person, and if you want alcohol, it's going to be even more expensive. But they have a theater chef, and they create culinary dishes that are cinematically tonal. So, when you're watching Superman, you'll have some sort of, Superman themed meal. Yeah. You can watch new movies, or you can pick from a movie from their database. But it feels like a very rich, like this is going to cost you like $300 a person to go to a theater like this. But it's small and intimate.
Yes.
So you don't, like the Alamo Draft Houses, those are a little bit bigger. You can still rent those out, but
this is the Alamo. So it's like, this was like the first experience where you're going to go get reclined seating. You could order food to the fucking seats and stuff like that and have waiters and waitresses, whatever. And it's a really cool experience. Some theaters have like followed in its footsteps, but not too many do food delivery like right to the thing. But
on the app too. Yeah.
But like you were saying, this is the next venture of the founder of Alamo, and this, like you said, it seems like it's going to be a way more upscale, sort of like rich people thing. It's opening in Chelsea. Chelsea's like one of the richest areas of fucking Manhattan. So like, and this is
300 persons.
Yes,
crazy.
And this is private.
Very fun though.
Yes, it's
well.
fun.
If you scroll down, there's another picture of like a small theater style setting that it looks like.
This one?
No, a little bit further. No.
Yeah,
that one right there.
Yeah, this is This is like when they say private, it's like you're basically getting a private screening room, like what would be in your house. It's probably out of the price range of like most people. But it's a cool idea, but I thought it was also funny that it's like geared towards like fucking rich people and like,
sure,
that's the world.
Well, he was saying the reason he did Chelsea is because I guess those neighborhoods are the houses are small and compact, and a lot of people don't have room for theater systems.
Yep. And
so they wanted, and he knows there's money there, so creating a private theater experience for all those rich people seemed like a good idea.
$300 a person is insane. But if you're gonna if you want to go out, maybe like a bachelor party, and you don't want to go to like a fucking strip club or something like typical, I could see doing something like this. Keeping it like it like low key. You go grab dinner, watch a private movie with some friends, and like, $300 a person in that regard is not that bad, I don't think. But this isn't
for the experience.
This isn't like a once a weekend type of thing that you're going to be doing.
Oh, definitely not for most people.
Yeah, no.
But it was cool.
I've actually been to Alamo Draft House.
Oh yeah,
believe it or not, it's one in Raleigh. Yeah.
Oh really? You like it?
Yeah,
cool.
Actually, this is where I saw Uncut Gems in theaters.
Oh, nice.
How far is that from you?
About 45 minutes.
Oh, if you're going out to the movie,
Raleigh's
I would just go there.
Saw, Superman 2.
Oh, it is. How come you didn't see Sinners at that one at the Draft House? I would just go to the
I should have went there. I forgot about it.
Yeah.
I thought it had closed down during COVID or something. I didn't realize it was not just like a local like mom and pop type, because it's where they have it at it used to be a grocery store where they have this one at. So I was like, oh damn, this must be like, like super local type of thing. But
right.
Yeah, I did not know.
Cool.
I wonder what kind of projectors they're going to use. It doesn't really say, because they say 20 screens, but they're 4-person and 12-person rooms. So
they're probably like home projectors, I would imagine.
Yeah,
like really expensive like home digital projectors, or home theater stuff.
Okay.
There's one thing I was going to say. So like I was just talking to Nick's wife about this a couple of days ago when we went to go see Superman. She was saying how the theater that I tell you guys about all the time, like up the block from my house, you could like rent it out as like a personal party space if you want. Where like
most theaters do that.
Like you could rent a theater for your party and for yourself. And I said to her, I was like, and the cool thing about it is, she told me, you could screen any movie you want. Like you could pick the movie. Wow. It doesn't even have to be in theaters. So I got like super excited. I was like, had an idea.
Yeah.
I was like, we should rent it out for Halloween, have like a costume party, and then we have them screen like the original Halloween movie. And she was like, oh my God, she's like, that'd be so cool, that'd be so fun. And I was like, we should talk about it. She's like, well, it's a couple $100. And I was like, so what if we all pool money together? Like that's dope. So this is kind of like that, but like a little bit more of an upscale like experience. But let me tell you something. If I could get a theater screening on Halloween for Halloween
with Halloween themed food from a chef,
oh yeah, I'd be a happy boy. Yeah, so I thought this was interesting, but
spicy pumpkin.
The IMAX where I saw Superman at does like private. You could rent it out, but I don't think you could choose
the movie.
Yeah, because it's like a kids. It's like a kids museum, and then there's like an IMAX attached to it.
Oh, we have one of those here. Like the first IMAX screen that was in like on Long Island was like that. It was at like this like
they showed like documentaries.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, they showed documentaries like the Animal Kingdom and like shit like that.
Nice.
And then it's actually a crazy story. They didn't show R-rated movies for the longest time, and they just started showing them kind of recently. I think within the last year.
Need them dollars to stay alive.
Yeah, I hope they show weapons. I know they're going to be showing Fantastic Four, which isn't R-rated, but I hope they show weapons.
Yeah.
Good.
All right. What else you got, Dusty?
Well, this one's for Owen. He's a big fan. Shout out. Harry Potter production has begun.
Look at this fucking nerd.
Dominic McLaughlin is in costume. Yep. This is a little wild.
The first thing I noticed.
Oh my God, his head is huge.
Yeah. He's in his first pictures of him in costume are showing up there. And we got some confirmations of some additional cast. Rory Wilmot as Neville Longbottom, Amos Kitson as Dudley Dursley, Louise Breesley as Madame Rolanda Hooch, and Anton Lesser as Garrick Ollivander.
I'm literally...
I don't know all those names, actually.
I'm deleting Twitter when this comes out because I do not want to deal with the discourse that's going to be surrounding this.
It's woke.
You got fucking Black Dumbledore or something.
Snape.
Black Snape.
No.
Dumbledore's gay.
Black Snape, yeah.
Fucking.
Well, I think Dumbledore is gay.
I don't know.
In the book, right?
I don't know. But with the way, what's her name is, the writer of this shit, like with the anti-trans and the surf shit, like I just don't want any part of this online discussion when this comes out. I'm gonna go.
He was gay. He was actually gay in the original.
Oh, okay.
Books, so J.K. Rowling allowed that.
Yeah, the previously announced cast: Emmy Award winner John Lithgow is Dumbledore.
I saw that.
Nick Frost, our boys, Hagrid, and then this is the guy, Papa Esiadu, as Snape. There were actually some rumors about a month ago that he was going to get recast, but that's probably all BS because just haters wanted him recast.
Nick Frost is as what's his name is like the best casting I've ever heard.
It's really good. And then Oscar nominee Janet McTee from Ozark is Professor McGonagall.
Okay.
But yeah, we got Francesca Gardner as the showrunner, executive producer, Mark Mylod as the director of multiple episodes and an EP. J.K. Rowling's obviously going to be an EP. Now, this is a weird one for me because they're starting production. They've started production. This has a 2027 release date. So are they going to do this like the They're just going to film as much as they can for the next 2 years, and just have like 2 or 3 seasons worth of content, so that it doesn't end up like Stranger Things, where each season the kid looks like they've aged 10 years.
Yeah.
They would have to. I mean, that's the thing when you work with kids. Like, we were just talking about it with fucking Stranger Things. Like, this final season of Stranger Things is coming out. They're literally like in their 20s now. Like, it's
Yeah.
There's like
Well, I think maybe
know.
that's why they picked such a young kid for this one, because he looks way younger than what's his name, dude.
Yeah, he does.
Oh, he looks way younger. Yeah.
But I don't know how much they can actually, like, child labor laws and shit, right? Like,
Oh yeah, that
you
too.
can't,
That's a
like,
good point.
Even
You can't. Yeah.
even
It's
in,
only so many hours in a day they have to work.
right.
I'm wondering how I'll respond to this, because I told you guys I watched Harry Potter later in life. I watched it like literally 2 years ago for like the first time ever. Friend of mine made me watch it, who's a huge Harry Potter fan. Like, she read the books growing up, and then, like, of course, became obsessed with the movies. And for me, watching it as like an almost 40-year-old man, I was like, it's okay. Like, it was good. They were good, entertaining movies, but I wasn't like in love with them like I would have been had I started reading them as a child.
Exactly.
Yeah. Owen loves them. He rewatches it every year, I believe.
I wonder if this is going to sort of like refresh the material so that like it could bring in new audiences. Maybe, I don't know. We'll see.
I think it will. It's a pretty big IP, and it's great for kids. So I think it'll do just fine.
This is the world we live in now. Every like 10, 15, 20 years or so, we're just going to get a reboot of a huge franchise.
Speaking of people who played Superman, I thought we'd end off with this one. Maybe give your input on it. USA Today, and I'm sure there's a bunch of other or sites that did their own rankings, but I thought this one was a pretty fair one. They ranked every Superman from the original to the 48 to 2025. So I don't know if you've looked at this, Dan.
I haven't. So got Kirk Allen, number 9, Brandon Routh, number 8.
He's from the 48. Yeah, Brandon Ruth wasn't that good.
I don't think Brandon Ruth was that bad.
They put Dean Cain above him. So
right.
Yeah,
that's egregious. Brandon Ruth was actually decent, not in a great movie. Which that movie is like unfairly judged too. It's not a great movie, but it's not the worst movie. And he was good as Superman. He's just got, because he came back during the Crisis on Infinite Earth CW thing, and it was great.
I thought he was a good Superman. I thought he wasn't a very good Clark, though.
It was just that movie was trying too hard to basically be the Donner movie without Christopher Reeve or Richard Donner's involvement. So that was the problem with that movie. But putting Dean Cain above him is ridiculous. Dean Cain was fucking absolutely dog shit as Superman.
Yeah. Lewis and Clark.
And then we got
we got the Cavill Rain.
Cavill,
Mr. Henry.
Putting Tyler Hoechlin as number 5 is crazy.
Well, okay, so I'm okay with this because of the rest of the list. I think Tom Welling, I like Smallville a little better than Superman and Lois.
Nah.
But if you, David Cornsweet at number 3. Then you got George Reeves, who did the show, and then Christopher Reeve, who is the penultimate Superman.
Yeah. I don't know.
So where would you put Hoechlin then? You'd put him above?
I put Hoechlin at number 3.
Above? Oh, really? Above Cornsweet?
No,
interesting.
I honestly, you're not gonna like what I have to say, but I put David.
Did you watch the show? Did you watch the show with George Reeves? That's probably the only one I've never really seen.
I used to watch.
I've seen the 48 movie. Yeah, I never really seen the show, but I've seen the movie. I saw the 48 movie.
It wasn't on Nickelodeon, but it was like one of those like
AMC After Dark or
Turner
something,
classic movies, whatever the fuck. I've watched it with my dad, but honestly, I will talk about it more in the movie, but I mean in the review portion. But I don't agree with this list.
Okay, I think it's kind of fair, but I mean, we could look at 5 other lists and they'd all be a little bit different. So it's all subjective, but. It's interesting that you'd put. I think Christopher Reeve's still number 1, but
I think we'll talk about it in the review because I have it as part of my notes. But anyway, So that's do it for the news. Thank you for the news, Dusty.
Shout out.
Yeah, no problem.
Let's get into the review, folks, and that is, of course, James Gunn's Superman. After years of waiting, Marvin. It's finally here. Superman is finally here. And I said it Roll the fucking tape. There's proof. I've been calling this since this movie was announced that this movie was going to hit different. Now everybody's talking politics, nostalgia, whether we even need Superman anymore. But once again, the GOAT showed up right when we needed him most. And this movie, it hit harder than anybody expected, except for me. Let's talk about why. So, James Gunn's Superman is very unique in that it throws you right into the middle of this world. We get a Star Wars inspired wall of text that says, hey, 300 years ago, the existence of metahumans became known. 3 decades ago, baby Kal-El arrived here on Earth from his dying planet of Krypton. What is it? 3 months ago, he stopped a war of of one nation invading another. 3 days ago, he got like backlash about it, and then 3 minutes ago, Superman lost his first battle. Yeah. That intro is so fucking good that he lost his first, but he lost for the first time, and then.
Did you see how that came in? How that came about?
What?
David Cornsweet made that happen. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's funny because they were doing a lie detector test with him and I think Nick Holt.
Yes.
And they asked him if he'd rather play Superman again or be a Jedi Knight. And he said he'd rather be a Jedi Knight.
Yeah,
obviously he's contracted to be Superman again.
I think he's saying that because he just played Superman. I think he's saying like,
but yeah, he was. Well, I think he's just a bigger fan of Star Wars than Superman, which is okay to be. But
yeah, of course.
He is such a Star Wars fan. It was his idea. He told Gunn, "Hey man, we should like open it up like Star Wars does. Just quick wham bam, thank you ma'am title text, so that people have. You don't need the the narration or anything like that.
Exposition. It is exposition, but it's done in a good way. It's done very much like a comic book, and that's basically the entire
quick and easy.
Point of this movie. But so yeah, we were thrown into this world as it exists, and this is a movie about like Superman has been Superman for about 3 years, it tells us, and this movie is about him sort of balancing his Kryptonian heritage with his human upbringing. But more so than that, this movie is really about like all the things that Superman stands for that I've talked about repeatedly on this show, like hope and kindness and gentleness and all that stuff. And spoilers, if you don't want spoilers, go away and come back after you watch the movie. But yeah, so I guess let's start off with Marvin. Marvin, you don't really have much of a history when it comes to Superman. We made you watch the 78 movie and you liked it. I think you kind of just hear me like waxing poetic about Superman and why I love him so much all the time. But what did you think about this movie?
I thought this movie was fantastic. This is probably my favorite Superman movie that I've seen so far.
You've seen Man of Steel
Cavill too, right? Yeah,
he has.
I haven't. No, I haven't seen the Cavill ones. I've seen obviously the original, which you just mentioned. I've seen Superman Returns.
Oh,
okay.
The 2006 or some shit.
That's
good.
On
DVD. This was so good. Like, not only do they skip the BS that everyone basically knows, even someone like me, but they give you so much more extra, just like it's just jam-packed full of like the craziest stuff. It feels like it's like so much going on like at all times in this.
Go ahead. No, I was just gonna say this movie really never like lets its foot off the gas. Like from literally as soon as he crashes into the snow, and that's a really powerful introduction to this version of Superman. It's telling the audience like all the things that you think you know about Superman are not true. He's not boring. He's not fucking super powerful. He is, but we'll get to that later on. Yeah. But he could be beaten. He gets beaten all the time in comic books, and there's a reason for it, which I'll get into later. But like, he is not this boring Boy Scout fucking just giga powerful, uninteresting character that you think he is. And boom, crashes into the snow. Look, he's hurt and broken. And that's a great introduction. And from that moment, the movie literally never lets up. And, you know, it's very much like a comic book movie. It's very much a comic book in that sense.
Yes.
But yeah,
Yeah,
continue,
it was
Marvel.
it was just so much. Like, I like the the was it like a dimensional imp or whatever?
Yeah, the dimensional imp.
And we were all like speculating, like, oh shit, what is that? And Gunn just kind of makes a joke of it, like it wasn't even anything. Like even in the movie, it's like this like meta thing where it's like it's not even in the movie itself. It wasn't even anything. So it's like that was cool too.
There was criticism when that was the first image released of him in the suit, if you remember, like over a year ago.
That's right.
It was him in the apartment putting his boots on, and everybody was like, he's not out there fucking like stopping whatever that thing is in the background. And like now that we see it in context, it's like, yeah, this is just,
now. There's other shit. This
is just a
metahuman.
This is just a Tuesday in Metropolis. Like the other guys got it. They're good.
Yeah.
And obviously in this particular scene, he's like despondent and a little bit like.
Right. But it's good. I mean, it shows like even Superman needs a break sometimes, you know?
And that's the big difference about this, the way that James Gunn is painting this DC is that, and I said this a couple of days ago or last time we recorded or whatever, is that he's making it a point to bring us into the world of the DC instead of bringing the world of DC to us. Like Marvel, the MCU is very much grounded in reality, despite it being about these fantastical things.
They
like,
don't care to like be their outlandish self, which is great.
Yes.
Like not everything has to be, like you said, grounded in reality.
This is
like the freaking Screaming Hawk girl is like so DC, and they just did it. I was like, this is so funny.
This is probably, in my opinion, the most comic book movie we've ever had. Ever in the history of superhero movies being made. Like this is unapologetically a comic book movie. Like in terms
Tim
of
Burton did a pretty good job.
Yeah, he did, but this is more comic booky than that, I think.
Okay.
Just in the themes and the tone, the dialogue is like cheesy at times. You know, he's like, good golly or gosh, I can't, like when he falls off the table after getting that shot of sun, he says something like, oh golly or gosh or whatever. Like that's just comic book writing. And that line that he delivers at the end where he like tells Lex, like, that's what you've always gotten wrong about me. Like, I'm just as human as that's a cheesy line in a movie. When if this wasn't a comic book movie, we would all be like, oh my God, that fucking, that's the cheesiest shit I've ever heard. But in the context of a comic book, it works perfectly fine because it's a comic book line of dialogue. What about you, Dusty? You're the other resident Superman fan, comic book fan. How'd you like this? I feel like you might have not liked this movie, and I'm getting a little bit upset.
No.
Okay.
I loved this movie.
Ooh,
it was a great Superman. I do have some problems with it, specifically because of some things James Gunn said and also some things that James Gunn does. But this was great. First of all, perfectly cast.
Oh my God.
I was a little bit wary of seeing David Cornsweet in the pictures and being like, he's not the most Superman-esque, just the photos they released. But seeing him live action as Superman, I was like, oh my God, he's fucking nailing this shit. This is great.
Born to play Superman. Like,
yeah, absolutely. And Nick Holt, I was very wary of, the most wary of, because I'm
remember my complaints? I was like, this guy, he doesn't even look like it, but he killed that shit.
Oh my God.
He did. Megalomaniacal maniac. Now, I could have done without the crying Lex Luthor when he's, when Superman gave a speech about how I'm human and Lex is losing, and it just I don't know, that one kind of like, I mean, Lex.
Well, you have to.
The thing about Lex is he's so smart. And sure, he's passionate about everything, and he has that rage. So sure, that could invoke some emotions, but Lex knows that Superman won't kill him.
I took that as a rage
nothing to
cry.
worry about. Yeah, possibly, I guess, but like it just felt a little. That was like
I did not feel at all that it was like I'm sad cry. It was like a. It was like I'm so fucking frustrated right now that like just tears are coming out because you gotta understand, he is like the king of narcissists. And he portrayed that really well in the movie. And at that point, he's just like, media is now against him. Like his whole plot is just crumbling around him, and he's not crying because he's sad or upset. He's crying because he's fucking furious that he lost.
Yeah.
And that Superman one up
but
them.
I mean, it came off to me as more like a temper tantrum child cry than that, because Lex Luthor is playing 5D chess. He doesn't matter if he loses to Superman because he knows Superman won't kill him, so we'll have another shot at him.
Yeah.
And Lex Luthor still has the power and resources, which we're going to see in another movie. He's going to come back and, because they
That's the first thing I said as they drove away in the car. I was like,
he was plotting in the backseat already.
He was already,
Yeah. All right. What else?
So, but the thing that bothered me is James Gunn said that those things he doesn't want to see in a superhero movie or things that we've seen in superhero movies over and over and over. Well, this is the third live action Superman where Lex is trying to claim his own territory and become king of it.
We
saw it in Superman 1, we saw it in Superman Returns, and now we saw it again in Superman. And it's also been done in some of the animated Supermans. So that trope really, for me, was just like, again. So
maybe
these are little nitpicks though.
Maybe the difference was he said that was just the plot. He created the war to kill Superman.
Yeah,
sure.
But so they mentioned in the movie that Jarhanpur is incredibly oil rich. So you get the sense.
Well, sure, he gets a benefit from it.
Yeah. But. I'm directly responding to the other films where Lex Luthor is out to get land. In the other movies, it's literally just about real estate. Like in the 78 movie, he wants real estate to sell it.
Yeah.
In Superman,
California.
Right. In Superman Returns, he's trying to, again, develop
make his own
land
island or continent
for real estate. This is not real estate, but I get
it's
where
to
you're
be
coming
king
from.
of that real estate as well. Like he wants to be the president, ruler.
Yeah.
And that's we're going to see tropes of Superman in all these movies, but it was just that one for me. I felt like, oh man, I didn't know he was going to go with that, even after he said those things. So,
but overall, you
just felt a little. Oh yeah, no. Again, I loved this movie there, I just, as a Superman fan, like I get okay. So the other complaints I have would be when they fill his lungs. Okay, so this is one where it was in the canon, not in the canon. Like, does Superman breathe? He can go out in space and not breathe. He can go underground. He can go underwater.
He can hold his breath.
But let's fill his lungs well. That's in some he doesn't need to breathe. In some he can just hold his breath for a very long time. That's what I'm saying is it doesn't really explain it in this when they fill his lungs. But when he takes off to fly, like I totally get Ultraman keeping up with Superman flying away. But the engineer with some jetpacks keeping up with the Man of Steel, who can fly around the world so fast he could stop it or reverse time.
Not in this canon.
Unbelievable to me.
That's fair.
And also her like figuring out how to transcode the broken video of his parents talking. He's got AI robots with advanced technology from another planet that couldn't do all this, but the humans figured out how to decode the full message and figure out what it said. I was like,
Now, not to argue with you on it, but I think you're judging the movie as a movie. And I don't think that, remember last week I said I think this is going to split audiences? I was wrong, but I knew that this was going to be like a very comic book movie. And I don't want to say that as a cop-out to ignore like actual things that are like structurally maybe a little bit weaker in the movie or things that don't make a lot of sense plot wise, but really it plays out like a comic book where a lot of this stuff that you're talking about doesn't really matter. It just doesn't matter. It's just a fantasy. It's a comic book, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
That's how
I get that, but there's also like it's minor annoyances. Really is more than anything. And my last one would be, when Mr. Terrific calls Superman and says, "Hey, my guy, there's a rip in the universe here, and it's tearing Gotham apart. We need you here because we don't know what to do." Yeah, Metropolis. We need you here because we don't know what to do. There's 4 minutes of screen time, and he shows up at the last fucking second before that lady dies from the smashed building. Like, what are you doing for 4 minutes? Like, I think back to Superman and Lois where she's in trouble and she presses that button, and that's one of the best scenes in that fight. He instantly, and that's where like Superman is so fucking fast. Like, where I want to, there's just. You should have been there and shove, or you're going to have a conversation, eat some breakfast with mom and pa.
Couple
like, what are we
Dusty
fucking
gripes.
doing?
I think he was on the horn with the Justice Gang being like, yo, guys. No, I don't know. I get it. those are little gripes. I don't really had like I didn't even that one I didn't even like think about. I was just like, oh, that's a cool moment, whatever.
Well, that's another like trope of like showing up at the last second just in time. Like that's a superhero trope that I feel is a little tiring. And when James Gunn makes comments about I'm tired of tropes, and then he puts a lot of tropes in,
That's
like
fair.
I get it, but I don't get it. So it was just a few things where I was like,
Okay.
But again, I love this movie. This is a great movie. I've watched it twice. So
Me too.
and I will sure watch it multiple times.
Mm-hmm.
But there was just a few things where I'm not going to be able to give it
That's fair.
a perfect score.
Fair enough. I'm just gonna say it. I haven't given really my opinion yet. Obviously, I've liked it, but dead honest, I think this is the best Superman movie we've ever gotten. You could accuse me of recency bias or call it hyperbole. The Donner film obviously holds a very special place in my heart and in pop culture for obvious reasons. Without the 78 Superman, you don't get this movie. You don't get the MCU probably. You don't get a lot of comic book movies that have come after it. But this movie here, Superman, purely represents what Superman is from the comic books.
Absolutely.
And the we were talking about our rankings of Superman in that article you posted or you talked about. Everybody's going to say Christopher Reeve is the best Superman. And he is certainly iconic. But the big difference for me between Christopher Reeve's portrayal in the Donner film is that in that movie, Superman is his real identity. He acts stumbly and bumbly as Clark to sort of distract from the fact that, like, hey, this guy looks like fucking Superman. And when he turns into Superman, when he breaks the character, you see he stands up and he's perfect posture and hello, Lois. Like, he does all that. In this movie and in the comic books, Clark is Clark is the real identity, and his persona as Superman being confident and this is that's the persona. And this movie fucking nailed it because like the way David Cornsweet played it was so humble and like just like I don't want to say goofy, but lack of a better word, he's just like he's a goofball. Like he plays around with Jimmy, and you know there's the clip that was cut from the movie, which is one of my gripes, and I'll get to it later, where Lombard is like, "Hey, loser," and he's like, "You're a loser." Like he's playful. That's who he is. He just, I don't know. He wears his heart on his sleeve and he's not ashamed of it. And that's David Cornsweet played that perfectly. And I never got that from Christopher Reeve's portrayal of the character. Christopher Reeve plays him in a much more like just upright, like I stand for truth, just like that archetype. And I think this is just better than that personally.
Yeah. You feel like it was like, well, he was like kind of like more robotic.
It's not even robotic. It's just like, the way Reeve plays him is like he's the bastion of like it's just that very old school like I'm Superman.
It's definitely more mature,
and it's more based on the George Reeves portrayal and that golden age Superman from way back in the day. This is more of like what Superman became over the years. This reminded me a lot of the animated series from the late 90s and early 2000s, which is a lot of millennials like introduction to the character aside from the Donner movie. This reminded me a lot of My Adventures with Superman, the current animation that's very popular and very good. Mm-hmm. And it's just that he's like a playful guy, and he's like I said, he's just he just is he's not like stoic and like he's just goofy. Like that scene, people were criticizing it from the trailer, but when Mr. Terrific is like, "Hey, stop messing around," he's like, "I'm not messing around. Like I'm doing important stuff." Like that's who he is. Like that's just how he is. Yeah. And he's not putting on any airs or performances as Superman. And I really liked that. But yeah, I just the movie was just it was better than I could have imagined. It was everything I wanted it to be and then some, because it really serves to show us what it means to be a purely good person. And talking about the supporting cast, that's why all the other characters exist in this movie, is to stand in direct contrast to Superman. There was a lot of criticism going into this about like, oh, this movie's going to be overstuffed. There's too many characters. How is James Gunn going to deal with it all? I mean, and then you realize when you watch it that they're not main characters. They don't need to be fleshed out in this movie. They're just there. And they're there to show that, A, what Marvin said earlier, Superman can't do everything by himself. And they're there to stand in contrast to Superman, because here are these guys, these group of heroes who are corporatized. They're owned by, what's his name? James Gunn's brother. I can't remember the character he's playing at this.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Not Simon
The
Stagg.
CEO of.
Yeah, not
No.
Simon Stagg, the other guy.
Yeah, the other guy.
I can't think of it. But anyway,
Mm.
so they're like corporatized, and you see when
Maxwell Lord.
Maxwell Lord, yes. After that
Yeah,
kaiju
Lord, that's
fight,
what it was.
after that kaiju fight, they're taking fucking publicity shots from the media and stuff. And what's Superman doing? He's in the back hugging kids and like high-fiving kids and stuff. And so the whole supporting cast, including Lois, is meant to contrast against Superman's pureness and goodness, and just the whole movie is about, I just want to fucking save people. I just want to do what's right, and that's my only concern. I don't care about geopolitics. I don't care about cameras. I don't care about social media. I just care about doing good. And I'm gonna get choked up. Like, James Gunn said it from the get-go. Like, this movie is about Superman in a world where kindness is old-fashioned. And, you know, that ending, I was a little bummed out, because the trailers, they build up that like war that he stops. I thought we were going to see it, especially the moment of the kid raising the flag. And at first I was a little disappointed. I was like, fuck, Superman didn't go go answer that kid's call. But that wasn't the point of that scene. The trailer painted it as that. But the actual plot twist is that scene is about the hope that Superman inspires in. Oh God, I can't even talk about it. That scene is about the hope that Superman inspires in other people. Like these people are about to be slaughtered, and the kid raises the flag and says, "Superman, Superman, Superman." He's not literally calling to Superman. That's like him. It's hope. That scene represents hope, and the hope that Superman inspires in people. And then it comes full circle, and this corporate fucking group of heroes that don't really like care that much show up to save these kids because they were inspired by Superman. So this movie is about the hope that Superman inspires in others, and also how Superman inspires others to be good and to do good. And that's when they show up, and the kid's like, sorry, Superman couldn't show up. You got an upgrade, which is a funny moment, but they showed up because they were inspired by Superman to do so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The sports writer was the only guy who I felt was like forced, like didn't
he was so
need to
funny.
be in
He's
the
like,
movie at all.
Why did I have a chair?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's why I liked it. Like, normally in a movie like this, I would feel like, man, like this is a little too many characters. Like, this person didn't get fleshed out. This person has no point in the movie but they're all there to just be part of his world, and like you don't have to really flesh a lot of them out. And I thought it did it really well. Like, again, when you contextualize it within the framework of a comic book, I think it works perfectly fine. And I thought it worked fine as a movie too. I was surprised that he was able to really like pull that off.
Yeah, like you said, with comic books, it doesn't have to flesh it out, because if you want to learn more about a certain character, you can go and do that. Like, you get just enough to where you can appreciate it in the moment, and then if you want to learn more, you can go learn more.
Yeah.
Yep. Go down the rabbit hole.
And we will. I think James Gunn is going to be releasing these DC movies in way more in a sort of comic book style of like, we're in this established world. Like, we don't need the lead up where Batman's fucking parents die, and then we see the pearls drop, and then there's a half hour of him training in the fucking mountains, and then he develops his suit, and then he starts doing things. Like, we don't need all that. Like, and so the next, like,
but you know what we do need more of?
What's that?
Mr. Terrific.
Oh yeah, he was great, and he was one of the standouts.
And that fight scene with that song was so good. That was like the best song they could have.
That was
possibly.
good.
Yeah.
And at the end,
James Gunn is good at doing that.
Where one of Lex's minions was like, "I could help." He's like, "Get out of the way! I'm goddamn Mr. Terrific!" Like, that shit was so funny. He was great, and
him and Crypto were like the MVPs for me. Those were.
I thought Guy was great too. I really think everybody was.
Everybody was good for sure.
Lois fucking.
I just had no expectations of like Mr. Terrific, and he like overachieved.
Well, you might get your wish. Apparently, there's rumors that James Gunn is considering a spinoff of a series of Mr. Terrific and possibly Jimmy Olsen, the Sex Machine.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
So one thing I wanted to talk about, Dusty might have more of an opinion on this, but at first I didn't really like the change to the Kryptonians. So essentially what this movie is about is that Superman has a recording of his birth parents, Jor-El and Lara, and it's a fractured message because it was damaged in the trip to Earth, and the message is used. We see in the beginning where the robots are like, "Oh, we've played the message of your parents. It soothes him." And one of the robots, number 4, is
Gary.
Gary is basically translating it, and it says something like, "We love you more than the heavens and the ground we walk on, and we're sending you away to a place where you could do good." Is essentially what the message says, and that's like Superman's driving force. Like that message gave him his purpose. Like, I'm here to do good. And when Lex invades the fortress, as Dusty talked about a little bit earlier, the engineer, who is a machine, she is able to decode the fragmented pieces of this message, and Lex exposes to the world that no, Superman was actually sent here to rule over us because we are a weak species in comparison to Kryptonians. And the mother tells him to take however many wives, a harem of wives, and like all this stuff. And the world turns on Superman, and he sort of turns on himself in this movie. And I really was emotional. I felt for him. I felt really bad for him because his whole identity, was completely shattered in that moment. And at first I was a little upset. I was like, I don't know if I like this. But the more I've sat with it and thought about it, I actually like it. I'm curious what you think, Dusty.
With his parents?
Yeah.
Or the change in the dynamic because of the other Jor-Els were...
So in the 78 Superman, which is hilarious because, that Jor-El was like the bastion of peace and love, and like, this is what morality is, Kal-El, and like, I want you to bring these things I'm teaching you to the world and like guide them and be there, show them that they could be a great people, Kal-El. They wish to be. They only lack the light to show the way. Be that light for them. Guide them. So Jor-El was always, and the Kryptonians.
Crows was very similar.
Very similar, yes. And Jor-El is always portrayed as like this angelic figure who's guiding Clark with this morality. I've always sort of felt that Jor-El being Superman's moral compass sort of undermines the Kents. Because his morality...
and that's what I was going to say is, it doesn't really bother me so much that they made that change because it opines on the fact that we're so lucky that he landed on a small farm in Kansas and had good people to nurture at least the message that he got that made him what he is. So, I mean, you can double up on top. Yeah, his dad was good and his other dad was good. Or, his parents were good, but they knew he was going to be a god there. And so they told him to rule over them and take a harem of wives or whatever. But he's just lucky that he didn't get the full message and had good parents. So I liked it. We didn't really see much of him. We see half of a broken message and we don't even see the full message, I don't think, because it's translated behind closed doors or whatever. And we just read the message. But it didn't bother me at all. Brad Cooper, I guess.
There's also the thing of like, I don't know if you guys noticed it, but when the message is being played to the world, like there is a glitch that happens. So, and it's Lex, like he could have faked it, even though he's saying to Benjamin Netanyahu, I mean, the character in the movie that, it's real. Like I didn't have to do anything. Like they could go back and retcon it a little bit and explore that, which I think would be really interesting because Supergirl's movie's coming out and her origin's a little bit different, but she could actually like provide a little bit more of a clarity for Clark in her film and explore more of the Kryptonians and what their goals were. But I mentioned this to somebody on Twitter and I was just like, they didn't like it. And I was like, for you to expect a alien race from another planet to have the same morality as human beings on Earth is as stupid as expecting them to speak English. I always hate, and I think it's a Dusty gripe too, when like aliens from other planets are speaking English. Like it's just not, it wouldn't be a thing, right? So why would you expect them to have the same morality? So they're this different, they're very technologically advanced species. They probably wouldn't have like the same and for to his credit, Zack Snyder, I think, explored this really well with his intro in Man of Steel that explores Krypton and how like Krypton is a very like a meticulous and surgical society where like they're breeding people to do certain things. Some are doctors, some are military people, and Jor-El and Lara are like the last breed of Kryptonians that are like, no, we want a natural birth. We want our child to be what he wants to be. And so obviously that was the central thesis of that dog shit fucking portrayal of Superman, is that like you don't have to be Superman despite having massive power. Just do whatever you want to do. But yeah, I actually really like this, and I think I prefer it over like the angelic, like guiding light of Jor-El from other movies past, because it undermines the Kents, and this movie is about his humanity and about and he only has that humanity because of the guidance of Ma and Pa Kent. And I thought it was really great. And I also thought it was really great that Pa Kent gets to be alive to see his son become Superman and to be proud of him. That yeah, I can't even deal with it.
That was good. Yeah,
that move.
I didn't even think about that.
The ending scene when he says, "Oh, we played the video. You want the video of your parents?" It soothes him, and it's just all the home. I can't even.
Yeah, that was a good. That was a good swap there.
I fucking cried my fucking balls off.
Yeah, that's the kind of stuff what I love James Gunn does. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Talking about the recording and like biological parents versus who raised you. I think it's like you're not your parents too, right?
Exactly.
Like,
and that's what Jonathan says to him. Like, it's not our job to tell you what to do. It's our job to give you the tools.
Yeah.
The veil, and then get up. Yeah.
In the past iterations, like it's always after Jor-El's guidance that Jor-El gives him the hero speech, right? And then he becomes Superman. In this, it was Jonathan that gives him the hero speech, and it reinforces his humanity and his pure kindness. He's not special because he's an alien with powers. He's special because he is kind-hearted and loving, and that's because of how Martha and Jonathan raised him.
Well, it's a great point of adversary because he thought his parents were one way, and that self-realization is hard. Like for everybody, you tell somebody a truth and they believe something, like, a lot of people believe God is real and Jesus is real, and there are a lot of people that don't. And if you blow somebody's mind away if you give some truth, but him facing that adversity of I don't know who I am, and then John Kent saying, you're exactly who you're supposed to be. You're who I raised to be this person. And none of that has changed. And I couldn't be more proud of you. Like, that is brilliant, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. 100%. But what really, the one line that really encapsulated this movie for me is when the moment I was like, oh, this is like my Superman now, is when he's having that second conversation with Lois, and he's like, I'm gonna turn myself into the DOJ, and she's like, what? Why? And he's like, well, he's like, hopefully they take me to where the dog is, and she goes, he's just a dog, and he goes, yeah, he is just a dog, and not even a very good one, but he's out there alone, and he's probably scared. I'm crying now talking about it. Like it, it is so fucking just purely Superman, and it highlights his perspective and what he's willing to do to help all life. We see him fucking, like, the Justice Gang are fighting the kaiju, and they're being sloppy about it, and they're fucking showboating and doing like all this stuff, and Superman's just saving a woman, saving a kid who's about to be stomped on, saving a dog, saving a fucking squirrel. Like,
a squirrel, yeah.
That felt like a James Gunn fuck you to Zack Snyder, because he let his dad die and then he killed fucking Zod. And it's like, come on, man.
I didn't feel any animosity in this towards other
iterations. Not at all, but
this
just
felt
the Snyder bots. That was definitely
this felt like a reintroduction to the character. It's like, hey guys, you have been given a very misguided version of this character for so long. Like, this is who he really
going
is.
Emo on some logging truck.
Yeah. And like that scene, he's willing to risk his life and get himself into literally the worst situation he's ever been in at this point, just for a dog. And this was actually, I think, the inspiration for this came from a comic book that you should read, Marvin. It's really good. It's called Superman Up in the Sky. And it's about, I think I talked about it here on the show before, but there's this little girl who goes missing, and she's a nobody. And the movie is about, I mean, the story is about Superman weighing his options. Like, I need to go look for this little girl, but like I have to leave Earth, and like there's so much going on here, and she's an orphan. She's kidnapped by aliens, and he's in this crisis because it's like a needle in a haystack to find her. Most people, Batman included, are like, dude, you can't leave Earth just for one girl. Like, there's so much other shit going on. You're our protector. We need you. But ultimately, he ends up leaving Earth, and he crosses the universe to save this one little girl because he's the only one that can. And like, that's what he does. And like, and this movie like really just like, I think just nailed that premise home, like, to a T. And
yeah, even the big gremlin monster that they were all fighting, he didn't want to kill it.
Yeah, he wanted to take it to an
Thing is what the news called it.
He wanted to take it to an international intergalactic zoo or whatever.
Zoo.
Yeah.
Yep.
That thing grew so fast too.
Yeah.
That's what I loved about it. It was just like so much going on.
Yeah.
It was like the freaking pocket universe or whatever.
Yeah.
That was insane. Like, it was just so much happening.
You know, it's interesting because one of the only gripe I really have about this movie is we always talk about how long movies are. You guys especially have like hard opinions on like the length of things and like the pacing and stuff.
Yeah.
You know, we're always saying like, you know, 15 minutes could be cut here, 30 minutes there. This is one of the first times where I felt the movie should have been longer. Like, not because it was not because it was overstuffed. I didn't feel it was overstuffed, but it was very fast paced. And if I had to guess, I would bet that James Gunn probably felt pressure to cut this movie down. I bet you he has like 3 hours of like gold footage for this movie because it was breakneck speeds. Like, from moment one, it's like you're just going. And there's a lot of stuff that I think was cut from the movie, and you can see that in the trailers. There was like little lines of dialogue, little moments here and there. I hope we get like a 2.5, 3 hour director's cut of this. I don't know if we will,
awesome.
but
Yeah.
I do feel there was a lot of stuff that was cut. There were some edits that are a little jarring where it's like, oh, we're here now? Like, okay, fine. It was fine. Didn't really kill the movie. It's just like, those were things that I noticed where I'm like, you definitely cut something from that. Like, why? So that was my only thing. I wish it was longer.
The big reveal was definitely shocking to me, I think, where Ultraman, we found out, was cloned Superman.
I'm sorry. I had not to poo-poo your shock, but
You
like,
knew
I knew that like years ago. I was just like, me and Ed were talking about it. Shout out to Ed. I was like, we were like, yo, Hammer of Baravia is definitely Ultraman, and also Ultraman is definitely a clone of Superman.
Oh yeah. Well, I haven't read many of the comics. So
Yeah,
I mean,
in the comic book, he's not a clone. He's like a different universe of Superman. He comes from a universe where like all the heroes are evil versions of themselves.
Yeah. His parents sent him to this universe to take over this universe.
Yeah, and Clark is, you know, I'm sorry, Lex's entire existence is to, like, not really kill Superman, like he wants to kill him, but like it's to just really make the world like not like Superman. So that was another gripe I had. I pretty much knew everything going into this movie, not from spoilers or leaks or anything like that, just like it was based off the comic book. So it's like I just knew pretty much everything. Yeah. I was like, I'm like, all these things that are happening in this movie are Lex just trying to like fuck with Superman, pretty much.
Yeah. It was cool though that you would think like, oh, did he clone someone? But they already had so many other like outlandish things that they were portraying that it wasn't even a big deal because it was already like a pocket universe that we've seen. So it's like, oh, he cloned someone. It's like, okay, that's normal.
Exactly.
Yeah. Marvel's trying to get out of the multiverse and DC's just now jumping in.
Yeah. I mentioned I was going to bring something up about Superman being powered down because, again, the movie opens, we see him crash into the snow. He's broken, he's battered. There's been a lot of criticism from idiots that are like, this Superman's so fucking weak. And like, you know, we see him beat up the whole movie and like this, that, and the other. And I'm just like, you know, I think that James Gunn knew that the way into this character for lots of the audience was going to be to power him down because that's a big criticism of him, that he's too powerful, which makes him boring. I don't believe that, but people do. But we could still earn our way into that moment. There's a moment in comic book Justice League Unlimited where he's fighting Darkseid, and he says to Darkseid, he's like, and I'm paraphrasing, but he essentially says, I'm always holding back. Like, I live in a world of cardboard, and anything I touch, the slightest touch could break things. Now I'm going to show you how powerful I really fucking am. And he just fucking unloads on Darkseid. And we could earn that now. We could build up to that. And I think that'd be a great reaction. It's like, we've seen him humble, and we've seen him beaten. We've seen him upset and sad and broken and hurt. And now we're going to, like, eventually we'll see him fucking just like max power. I don't think we'll see him reverse fucking time by spinning around the earth, because that's kind of fucking stupid. No offense, but I think we'll see the true measure of his strength, which is going to be dope. But this wasn't about that. This movie was about his humanity and humanity.
You do see some of his speed when he's flying, like when he breaks off and like,
oh my god, dude!
When he's flying through the clouds, you see him go through so many
storm systems. That was fucking awesome.
Storm systems.
That was good.
Like, that's the speed I expect him to fly at, and that somebody with some fucking rocket pats on their back can't fucking keep up with. And that's why that scene still bothers me. Like, there's no fucking way.
Yeah, I got the sense that in that scene, he's like not flying at his full speed because he's got fucking shit in his lungs. That was also, I think, a nod to Slither when he's pulling the shit out of his mouth.
Ugh, Slither, gross.
Yeah. But yeah, so last thing I want to talk about is the reaction that this movie's getting. There's a lot of people out there saying they made Superman woke. We saw Dean Cain, failed screen actor Ben Shapiro didn't like it because it's woke, and there's a lot of and this movie has a lot of crossover to our real life. Whether James Gunn intended it or not, it is the whole Baravia versus Jarhanpur thing is very, very closely aligned with what's going on with Israel and Palestine. And there are a lot of people taking offense to this, pro-Israel people. Mm-hmm. And the idea that you think that Superman wouldn't stop a war, no matter whose war it is laughable. And I love that this was, like, again, I don't know one way or the other whether James Gunn like intended this to be the case. I think it might just be like a happy accident that it like very closely aligns like all the, because humanity, the history of humanity is a history of imperialism. You could spit in any direction and hit a war, right? Like, it's not that rare that wars are going on for similar reasons. So whatever the case may be, a lot of people are talking about it. But my favorite thing ever is seeing a particular group of people, conservatives, contend with the fact that a superhero, or that superhero stories are literally the antithesis to everything that they stand for, and how they fail to understand what that says about their worldview and not the fucking character itself. Like, their reactions to this movie are literally what the movie was about. It's so funny. Like, the fucking typing apes, like, just spreading hatred and fucking anger online and like all this stuff. Like, I know you guys took it as a shot against the Snyder bots, which it might be, but it's just a shot against the life we live in currently, where social media is poisonous and it ruins everything. And herein comes Superman, and he just stands in contrast to that, and it's fantastic. Yeah. But I don't know.
That theme was awesome.
Oh, the fucking music was incredible. Yeah. And
score.
And I got another like jolt of vindication, because that moment with the conversation with Lois where she's like, we're nothing alike. Like, he's like, how are we not alike? And she's like, I'm a punk rock kid from wherever she says, and you're Superman. And he's like, I'm punk rock. She's like, no, you're not. You listen to this band and this band. They're pop radio bands. And he's like, and she's like, listen, all I mean is that you see everyone and everything is beautiful. And oh God, I'm going to cry again. He says, maybe that's the real punk rock. And I've maintained this my whole life. Punk rock is not just anti-establishment. It's not just like against the grain in music and culture and like how you dress. It stands in direct contrast to things that are popular at the time, right? And that's what Superman is. He is kindness in a world that is no longer kind. And I kept saying leading up to this, we needed this movie more than ever. And it's having the effect that I thought it would have. There are people on the internet all over the place being like, I forgot what fucking kindness looked like. I forgot what hopefulness felt like. And Superman always arrives when we need him the most. And he did it again because he's the fucking GOAT. Yeah, I don't know. I just loved everything about this movie. It felt like a living comic book. The color pop, it had the goofy feeling. It wasn't too kid centric. And Superman also, the family thing, tying it into family really hit home for me because it's like one of my earliest connections I have with my dad. And as my family's getting older now, and like you start to like look at things a little bit differently. Like my dad used to fly me around our house, like he used to hold me up and like I could pretend I was flying like Superman. And I'm gonna cry again. Fuck. When I got out of the theater, there was a guy holding his kid up and doing it like outside of the movie theater.
Nice.
And
Nice.
yeah, it was a really nice moment, and that's really what it's all about. It's about kids. And
Did you guys get cheers? At the end.
Oh yeah, there was cheers.
I didn't get as
movie.
big of a cheer as I wanted, but
yeah,
got a good little clap. Some claps.
I started a clap in the beginning when the DC logo where he breaks out of the chains. I clapped. And I started a clap. What were you saying?
Yeah,
Dusty?
I went to the first showing in on Friday, and there was us, and then there was a family behind us, and there was like one person in front of us. So the first showing was empty, which was a little worrisome for me because I thought this was for sure going to be $1 billion movie, and it probably still will. But it didn't pass the top 10 in opening weekends.
Yeah, people are
at
calling.
all. And it's the second or third best opening this year.
Yeah.
So while it's still doing well, it's not hitting. Jurassic World Rebirth is doing better in China right now.
I don't know if you heard.
In week 2.
It's a flop because it didn't make 96. It made 96% of its production budget back in 3 days, and people are like, it's a failure. Like, fucking, like, get a grip.
No.
Like, what are you guys talking about?
They're going to get close. But again, we haven't had $1 billion movie this year. So it could be the first, or we may just not get $1 billion movie this year. So who knows?
Maybe not.
And hey, that's okay.
It is, yeah. Hey, listen, this movie did what it needed to do, and it did it brilliantly. It introduced us to this world. It reintroduced audiences to this character who has been grotesquely maimed over the years in pop culture. But any final thoughts from you guys?
Just that hope always wins in the end.
That's right, it does. Lex
had the best plan you could possibly have against Superman, and he still lost. So I didn't even know about the fucking Metamorphosis guy. Or
oh, Metamorpho,
yeah.
Yeah, he was cool too.
I was like, where is he gonna get some? He mentioned like there's no more crypto. He's like, yeah, I got a plan for that. I was like, what the hell does he have? And then they bring out this guy. I'm like, oh God, that's insane.
Marvin, you ain't seen nothing yet. Lex don't fuck around with his plans, boy. He's ready for everything. He's always 10 steps ahead, but he's never ahead of Superman. Dusty, final thoughts?
Great movie. Need to go back and watch Peacemaker now. I know a lot of it is not really canon, but there is some stuff because Nathan Fillion's in that as another character. So,
bro, he was in the Suicide Squad. Fillion.
Oh, that's what it was. Yeah. But apparently, season 2 is going to be a direct follow up to this.
Yep.
So there will be canon related stuff in the next season. So I want to go back and watch season 1 because I haven't watched it yet. But great movie. Like I said, I've seen it twice. I'm going to definitely see it again. Maybe in the theaters, maybe not. I'm not sure. Couple gripes, but overall, fantastic. One of the best movies this year for sure.
Nice. There was a little needle drop moment. It's not a needle drop musically, but the moment at the end where Hawk Girl has got Benjamin Netanyahu and he's like, you won't kill me or something, whatever he says. He's like, and she's like, I'm not Superman. And she just fucking drops him. And that's like the central theme of the movie is like, he is so different than everybody else. And that's the point. And, you always hear the trope that Superman represents hope, but like, honestly, this is one of the first times a movie really inspired me to want to be a better person. I kind of had a similar feeling in watching, like every time I watch, what's the movie we watched with the president, where he becomes the president for the day, the lookalike. We made Marvin watch it. Can't think of it.
Oh, I thought you were going to talk about Captain America or something.
No. Hang on. Let me pull it up because it's going to bother me.
Dave?
Dave, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is like one of the first times a movie made me feel like I wanted to be a better person, and I do get a similar feeling when I watch Dave, but watching his vulnerability in this and his struggle with like in this world, like I just really felt bad for him the whole time, and it made it very emotional. And he's just a farm boy from Kansas, and he's trying to do his best, like, and to try to do your best in when everything seems to be pushing back against you. Is that something that we could all relate to? So I just felt this Superman was like very relatable. He's trying his best all the time. David Cornsweet as the character and the script like really captured it, and it was brilliant. And one more time, I don't want to keep comparing, like, you know, this Superman was I want to just put it to bed because I think it's important. Like Christopher Reeve and the Donner film, it has its place in pop culture, a very important place. But I think it was really important that this movie kind of washed away the ties to that movie and like became its own thing while also honoring it, right? Like it did honor it.
Yeah. Sure.
But,
yeah, plenty of Easter eggs and characters. I mean, Otisburg was in it. And,
yeah. And they're very different movies because of the times and the technology and whatever. But culturally, we're at a time right now where Superman has more weight, I think, than it did back in the 70s when the Donner film came out. In the 70s, despite some of the cultural angst at the time, like, because you know that there was like a recession and like Vietnam had happened and like all this stuff.
Their interest rates were what ours are right now. They were in a rough time back then.
There was like this
economy was in the shitter.
There was this overwhelming like corporate greed happening and Watergate and like all these things. But despite that, in the 70s, there was more decorum like in the world, just in general. People were more polite. People just behaved better in public and whatever. There wasn't like the internet to fucking stoke hatred and all this other stuff. And the idea of someone like Superman who represents like the bastion of goodness, it was not as surprising back then as it is now. This Superman exists in spite of our times, right? As James Gunn said, it's kindness in a world that thinks of kindness as old-fashioned. The idea of someone just doing the right thing because it's right is so much more alien and strange today than it was back in 1978. And so,
True.
For that reason, you know, I think it's a little bit more culturally relevant. And I'm seeing reactions of people like expressing that he like, and it's because he's and then what have I been saying to you, Marvin, or to you guys for like the last 2 years? I'm like, this movie's it's gonna be a cultural moment because he's the embodiment of compassion. He inspires people to look beyond themselves and see the humanity in each other, and we are drastically lacking that in 2025. We have been for the last decade or more. And so yeah, I don't know, I was very moved by this movie. Undoubtedly, I think this is now officially like my Superman. Like, I love Christopher Reeve. I have so much reverence for him and Donner and that movie. But this Superman really represents me and the things that I feel I struggle with. And I don't think I've ever really connected with the character like I have in this portrayal.
Yeah, it's because he has this human side in his superhero self. Like his passion for compassion in this movie was amazing because Christopher Reeve's Superman is stoic and he is the 30s to 50s, like, I am the good guy, Boy Scout. Yeah. Whereas in this one, like, Cornsweet again nailed it. Yeah. Like when he got angry at Lois, like people were gonna die yelling that. Or when he's telling Lex, like, hey, my greatest strength is I'm a fucking human. Like his passion for just being good is, I think, a better portrayal than the stoicism of Christopher Reeve's Superman. And so I get why you can say it's your Superman, because it feels better, I think, in the way he approaches it.
Yeah. And what he's just real quick, what he says at the end after that speech during that speech to Lex, he's like, I hope you eventually get to where I'm at, because he recognizes Lex is very smart and powerful and has a lot of, there's like, Lex could save the world.
Right. Sure.
And that's always a dynamic between Superman
and he does sometimes,
and
every now and again.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, all around great, top to bottom. I won't say it's the perfect movie because I want to give it a 10 out of 10, but I can't give it a 10 out of 10 only because I wish it was a little bit longer. Like, I do think there were some things cut from the movie that I would have preferred to see. Like, I'll sit through a 4-hour movie if it's fucking good, right? I want it to be longer. That's my only gripe, is that some of the things that you could tell were cut from the movie, you could tell that they were cut. Whether it be for like because of screenings, and like the thing with Crypto, like there's a scene that got cut that because he was getting beat by Ultraman and audiences didn't like it. So
they punched the dog and that did not go well with the panels. This
has a 7.7. It's it's getting mostly great reviews and everybody seems to have loved it. I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 for me. Marvin?
It's just a 10 for me.
Okay. You know what? You convinced me. It's a 10. Fuck it. It is. It's just like, I think it's a perfect movie. It really is great. Like it did all the things that it needed to do. I would have liked it to be longer, but to not grade it perfect because of that is stupid. It's a great movie. I loved it. It's 10 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch it again.
It's getting a 1 point bump. I'll give it an 8.5, but I can't give it my perfect 9.
That's high though.
Just because, like I said, I got a few complaints, and some of it is like because I know James Gunn movies so well. Some of it felt a little, like all that stuff. But
I totally get it.
Yeah, no, great movie. The kids loved it. The youngest, she kind of lost interest about halfway through, but she's only 6.
Okay.
Yeah. Christina thought there were a couple lulls for her in it, but I thought the pacing was perfect.
I would have liked. I wish we got more Lois. Their chemistry together is unbelievable. It was just great. It was perfect. I just can't wait to see more of these characters in this world. And James Gunn Ray was asked on Twitter when Superman 2 when, and he's like, define Superman 2. So I think he's going to create a world where these characters just come and go interchangeably in movies and out of movies. It's not going to be like the Marvel strategy of this is a Thor movie, this is a Captain America movie, this is an Iron Man movie, this is a crossover. Marvel tried that a little bit with Civil War and a couple of other things, but I think this is very much oh shit, hey, Superman's in Peacemaker, or Peacemaker showed up in Superman, right? He was on the news. It was just a random little thing.
Talking shit about
it. So, but I'm very excited for the future of DC. I think it's in good hands. James Gunn understood the assignment with this movie, so I'm very excited to see what comes next, which is Supergirl, and we get her cameo at the end.
Movie-wise, yeah.
Yeah. So, great movie. Everybody go check it out. Run to the theaters to see it. If you have already watched it, please leave a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts. And tell us what you're excited for in the DC. We do this once a week, folks, and we post our schedule over on our Discord. It's free to join. Some people expressed they wanted to be able to watch along with us, so now we post our schedule for the month. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. You can find the link on our website, harshlanguage.tv. Leave a like on the video, subscribe, do all that cool shit. It's helpful for the algorithm. But otherwise, we will catch you next week. Thank you for hanging out with us.
See ya.
Hasta.